Hello everyone, and welcome to this exciting session on transport in flowering plants, an essential topic for O-level biology. Have you ever wondered how water travels all the way from a plant's roots to its tallest leaves, defying gravity? Or how nutrients are distributed throughout the plant to keep it alive and growing? Well, in this video, we will explore the fascinating mechanisms that allow plants to transport water, minerals, and food efficiently. By the end of this video, you'll have a crystal clear understanding of plant transport systems, helping you ace your O-level biology exam. So, stay tuned, grab your notebooks, and let's get started.
Now let's start off with the topic transport in flowering plants. The transport system of flowering plants has to provide number 1, a way of water and ions from roots to the leaves. Number 2, a way of carrying sugars and amino acids from leaves to other parts of the plants while it is photosynthesizing. Number 3, if necessary, a way of carrying sugars and amino acids from storage organs to the leaves when it is not photosynthesizing. Now we are going to discuss this. Number 1, the vascular bundles. These contain following tissues for transport. Number 1, xylem. Xylem for carrying water and ions dissolved in it from roots to leaves. Now we have discussed xylem before. Phloem for carrying sugar and amino acids from leaves to parts of the plant where needed. Now there is a little remembering trick down I have written, that is, remember water in the xylem, WXY. Phloem carries food. So you know that pH also sounds F, so you can learn it like this: food, pH, phloem, and it carries food. Now I have drawn 3 structures, that is, to show the position of xylem and phloem in the vascular tissues of number 1. You can see a cross section of stem. Here inside the circle, I have drawn the vascular tissues. The outer part of that is phloem and the inner part is xylem. Now you must remember this because these do come in your exams to label them. Then a cross section of root. Again, the inner part, it shows the xylem, and outer circling the xylem is phloem. So again a memory aid for the section of root, that is the xylem, it looks like an X. Number 3, position of xylem and phloem in leaf. Now these are plant diagrams. Plant diagram means you only need to draw the cell with the part of the structure, just its outline. You do not have to fill the entire epidermis or the leaf or the root with the cells, just the outline. So here xylem inside towards the upper epidermis and phloem on the outer side. Now we come to the translocation. The movement of sugar and amino acids from leaves around a plant is called translocation. So we are discussing 2 things over here. One was the movement of water and the dissolved mineral ions. Its route is from root to the leaves, aerial parts, upper parts of the plant, wherever there are the chloroplasts where they are photosynthesizing. Whereas translocation, it is once the food is prepared in the leaf, and food is mainly sugars and amino acids, so it can be translocated from the leaves to different parts of the plants where they are required, and excess is stored in the form of fruits. Now we come to moving water against gravity, that is, from roots to leaves. 3 forces cause water to rise up a plant. Number 1, root pressure, number 2, capillarity, number 3, transpiration pull. Now these three are very important for the movement of the water from roots to leaves. Number 1 is root pressure. Living cells around the xylem vessels in the root use active transport to pump ions into vessels. Now I have underlined active transport, and on the right corner I have written that is active transport is the use of energy to move the substances against the concentration gradient, that is from lower to higher concentration. Actually, the substances they move from higher to lower concentration, that is, we use the word down the concentration gradient. But there are certain places in animals and in plants where once the concentration gradient has developed, substances are pumped against the concentration gradient, that is from lower to higher concentrations, and for this the plants have to use energy. This is called active transport. Now this lowers the water potential once the ions are pumped from the cells to the vessels. This lowers the water potential in the xylem vessels. Water therefore passes from the living cells into the xylem vessel by osmosis and flows upwards. This is called root pressure. Now, capillary action, it's also called capillarity. It's the property of the liquids, that is, they travel to some distance up in a very narrow capillaries. Root pressure alone is not sufficient to bring up to the leaves in tall trees. Rather, root pressure can take up water for very small plants. Other factors also work: capillary action and transpiration pull. These are the other factors other than the capillarities. Once the water is in the xylem vessel of the stem, water is carried upwards by a second force called capillarity. It is the movement of water, liquids, through narrow tubes. Xylem vessels have very small diameters which can carry water up to 20 centimeter almost, or a little more. Now we have the third property, that is transpiration. Now transpiration is the loss of water vapor from the aerial parts of a plant, especially through the stomata of the leaves, is known as transpiration. Transpiration takes place in the following way. Number 1, water leaves the xylem vessels in the leaf and forms a water film on the walls of the mesophyll cells inside the leaf. This water film is for dissolving carbon dioxide for use during photosynthesis. Now, in order to remind you people, I have discussed the cross epidermis and the lamina structure of the leaf, where I have discussed all these mesophyll cells and all the cells. Number 2, water from the water film evaporates into the intercellular leaf spaces, greatly increasing the humidity of the air inside the leaf. There is now greater concentration of water molecules inside the leaf than in atmosphere outside, so the water vapor diffuses out through stomata into the atmosphere. This is again down the concentration gradient. Transpiration occurs as long as stomata is open for uptake of carbon dioxide. Now remember, I have discussed the guard cells, opening and closing of stomata. Note, if the transpiration rate exceeds the rate that water can be absorbed by the roots from the soil, then water starts to lost from the plant's cell. The cells lose turgidity and the plant begins to wilt. You must have noticed wilting of the plants, especially in summers, where you can see the temperatures are very high outside and the plants they lose lot of water by evaporation, that is by transpiration. So you need to water the plants regularly. Now we come to transpiration pull. It is the part of the processes of the transpiration. Evaporation of water from the leaves results in a suction force which pulls the water. Now the water is in the form of a continuous column. Up the xylem vessel, the suction force due to transpiration is known as transpiration pull. Now this suction of water, that is, it forms a continuous column. You must have noticed that is when you are drinking any cold drink with straws, you can see that the water, it travels up in a column. It is never like this that from one side more water is coming in the straw, or on another side the less water is coming. It comes in a continuous film. Transpiration stream. The stream of water up the plant is called transpiration stream. Now you can see I have drawn a diagram of a plant on the right side. Now path of water is shown by green arrows, path of water and mineral salts by red arrow, and path of manufactured food by blue arrow. Now you can see that is the water and mineral salts are entering the roots from the soil and then moving upwards and are going all the way to the leaves and up the bud and to all parts of the plant. But it is not going into the fruit. And you can see the path of water which is actually evaporating out from the leaves. You can see it is moving out of the leaves. On the top, I have also written carbon dioxide and light, and the arrows are showing towards the plant, which means that carbon dioxide is entering the leaves from the atmosphere and light is also being directed towards the leaves. Now you can see the blue arrows. The food which is prepared in the leaves is traveling from the leaves towards the fruit and for all other parts wherever the energy and the food is required. Now, another thing. This was all about the transpiration. Now, importance of transpiration. Why it is so important? Number one, it maintains a constant supply of ions to leaves. Number two, it brings water to mesophyll cells for photosynthesis. Number three, it helps to supply water to all cells for metabolic processes and for turgidity. Number four, it helps to cool the leaves as it removes latent heat when evaporates, thus preventing them from being scorched in hot sun. Now, the factors affecting the rate of transpiration. Now, the factors are dry air, high temperature, bright light, and also the strong wind. So, transpiration speeds up when there is a dry air and slows down in humid air. High temperatures, it speeds up. Low temperature, it slows down. Bright light, it speeds up and slows down in dim light. These do not affect transpiration but affect the size of stomata through which water vapor passes. This I am talking about the light. You know that in the presence of light, the guard cells, they are photosynthesizing and preparing food. And we have already discussed that when the guard cells are photosynthesized, water enters them, they become turgid, and stomata is open. Now, the last but not the least, strong wind. It maintains the concentration gradient between the moisture in and out of the leaf as it blows away water vapor around the leaf. So, when there is wind blowing, the water which is coming out of the stomata, it does not saturate around the stomata but is blown away by the wind, so more water comes out, evaporates. Now we come to wilting. In strong sunlight, excessive transpiration causes the cells to lose their turgor. They become flaccid and plants wilt. Now, it has some advantages and disadvantages. Advantage of wilting is as the leaf folds up, rate of transpiration is decreased as the surface area exposed to sun reduces. This causes the guard cells become flaccid and stomata close. And disadvantage of wilting, rate of photosynthesis is reduced because water becomes a limiting factor, stomata closes, amount of carbon dioxide entering the leaf is also reduced. We can see a concept map, a very comprehensive concept map drawn on this page, which is going to show the different part, the epidermis of the leaf, the root structure, xylem vessels, phloem vessels, and the functions of all these. How do they function all together? Now, first of all, if you see the section of a leaf on the top, it is the epidermis. We have discussed this. Just to revise, epidermis is made up of upper epidermis cell, under it palisade cells, which have number of chloroplasts for photosynthesis. Then we have spongy mesophyll cell with air spaces in between. Then we have lower epidermis cell with the stomata and guard cells from where the water vapor diffuses out of the leaf. Then if you go down, you can see the section of a root. It's a root here. Then epidermal cells. Then inner cells which are filling up the spaces are called the cortex. Then we come to the xylem vessels, and then we come to the phloem vessels, and you can see they start from the root and they end up in the epidermis of the leaf. Now let's see the movement of water. In the root, you can see the movement of water is shown by blue arrows. The water is entering from the soil into the root. Root hair absorbs water by osmosis and dissolve mineral salts by active transport. Active transport I have discussed. That is, plant cells use energy to move the substances against the concentration gradient. Now the water and mineral salts flow across the cortex down a concentration gradient, that is from higher to lower, and it enters up into the xylem vessel. From the xylem vessel, it moves upwards and it opens up into the epidermal cells. Here the water comes out of the xylem vessel and it covers the palisade cells, the spongy mesophyll cells, and then you can see the black arrows. Then excess of water, it evaporates out of the stoma. Now this is called transpiration, and the function of transpiration is cools the plant, creates transpiration pool. Excessive transpiration causes wilting. We have discussed this in detail before. Now coming to the xylem and the phloem vessels, function of phloem is it translocates sucrose and amino acids from the leaf to other parts of the plant, And the xylem vessel, it conducts water and mineral salts from roots upwards to stems and leaves. Now one thing which is shown over here with the red color, that is xylem has thick lignified walls which prevent collapse of xylem vessels. Now the thicker one, you can see it's dotted, so it is called pitted xylem vessel, and the adjacent to it is, you can see the rings in it, it is called annular xylem vessel. So and in phloem you can see the discs which are the sieve plates for the movement of the food. Now over here you must look at the movement of the arrows, and if the diagram is given to you, you must know how to draw the arrows, because this does come in exams for you people, to draw the arrows to show the movement of water and also to show the movement of food prepared in the phloem. Thank you.